I'm Noelle. Standing in the cold outside my childhood home, looking at the warmth and laughter inside through the window, I recollect the explosive scene that unfolded not long ago. Just moments ago, in that same dining room, my words had turned the harmonious New Year's Eve dinner into a battlefield. My brother, Leo, with his arrogant tone that always made my blood boil, had jeered, 38 and still single? Must be a real drag spending every New Year's alone. The whole table fell silent, all eyes were on me. After 18 years of enduring this kind of family humiliation, something inside me snapped. I stared right at Leo, my voice steady and calm, and said, "Don't worry about me. I've been married for a decade." Time seemed to stand still. The shock on their faces was almost comical. Leo's self-satisfied smile froze mid-face, and my mother dropped her crystal glass, which shattered on the hardwood floor. As I reflect on this moment, I'm reminded of how my journey to this point was anything but straightforward. I come from a traditional upper-middle-class family where appearances and social status were everything. My parents, Richard and Emily, were obsessed with public acclaim. They always wanted the perfect family image, and in their eyes, I was the black sheep. Leo was the golden child. From a young age, he was charming, the one who could talk his way out of any situation. He was constantly in the spotlight, whether it was for his so-called business ventures or his social connections. I, on the other hand, was the quiet one, the diligent daughter who took care of all the family's practical matters, from managing finances to handling family affairs. I've always been told, "Don't cause a scene, Noelle. Don't embarrass your brother." So, I learned to shrink myself in family gatherings. But professionally, I was a force to be reckoned with. I'm a forensic accountant, running my own firm, Sterling Risk Analysis. It started small, in a tiny office with basic equipment, but over the past decade, we've grown into a respected name in the industry. We have offices in 4 states and major corporate clients who pay hefty retainers. Our reputation for uncovering financial fraud and protecting businesses from shady deals is well known. However, at home, none of my professional achievements seemed to matter. All they cared about was my relationship status. They never asked about my work, what I was building, or why I seemed lonely. They just assumed that no man wanted me. A decade ago, when I was 28, I met Owen Grant. He was the opposite of my family's ideal son-in-law. He came from a middle-class family, self-made, and had built his tech startup, Horizon Tech Solutions, from the ground up. Owen was calm, patient, and had an unassuming confidence. He treated everyone with respect, listening more than he spoke. When I introduced Owen to my family, they disliked him immediately. At the first dinner, Leo asked him all sorts of nosy questions about money and business status. Owen answered politely, but he refused to play their game. My mother later told me he seemed too serious and not family-oriented, and my father said he didn't understand our values. What they really meant was that he didn't flatter them or fit into their social hierarchy. 6 months later, Leo spread a rumor that Owen was using me for business connections. My parents pressured me to end the relationship, saying they were protecting me. They claimed love could make smart women stupid and that I'd thank them one day. But I refused to give in. Instead, I stopped sharing my personal life with them. 2 years later, Owen and I got married in a simple courthouse ceremony on a sunny Friday morning. Only our closest friends were there as witnesses. The simplicity of that day was a stark contrast to my family's grand expectations, but it was perfect for us. We celebrated with coffee and pastries at a local diner, and I knew then that I had made the right choice. For 10 long years, I kept my marriage a secret. I told myself it was for protection. I wasn't ashamed of Owen, I was just tired of having my happiness judged by my family. But secrets are heavy, and by this New Year's Eve, I was exhausted from carrying this one. My mother had invited me to the New Year's Eve dinner 3 weeks ago, saying it was just family, which meant Leo would be there, showing off his latest business scheme. I almost declined the invitation. Owen had asked me twice if I wanted to go, and both times, I hesitated. He never pushed me, saying, "You don't owe them a version of yourself that hurts you." I admired that about him. As I drove to my parents' house that evening, I felt like I was regressing to my teenage self. Their house was beautifully decorated, looking warm and inviting from the outside. But inside, the dining room table was set with silverware and place cards. My seat was at the end, and there was an empty chair next to me, which my mother cheerfully said was in case you bring a special someone. Everyone laughed, and I forced a smile. Leo arrived 20 minutes later with his wife and 2 kids, making a big entrance. He immediately started talking about his new luxury travel company, Zenith Luxury Vacations. My parents were beaming, and everyone listened attentively as he described all the high-end clients and potential partnerships. But something about his presentation seemed off to me. When he mentioned that he was in serious talks with Horizon Tech Solutions for a major investment, I almost dropped my fork. Horizon was Owen's company. I realized then that the folder Owen had been poring over that morning was most likely Leo's proposal. I had reviewed Leo's company's financials a couple of weeks ago without knowing it was his. The numbers were a mess. There were signs of misappropriation of funds, inflated revenue projections, and outstanding debts. I wrote a risk assessment recommending rejection unless full transparency and correction of financial statements were provided. Owen had trusted my judgment and put the partnership on hold. But here was Leo, sitting across from me, boasting that the deal was almost sealed. My mother raised her glass and said, to Leo, "Finally, someone in this family is achieving great things." I felt a pang of anger and disappointment. They had no idea that I, in a way, held the key to Leo's so-called success. Leo then turned to me and sneered, "Don't look so glum, Noelle. Maybe if this deal goes through, I'll give you a job filing papers." Everyone laughed, and my parents didn't say a word. The dinner became increasingly cruel, with Leo making more and more snide remarks about my single status. He said, "Career is great, but at some point, a woman needs to build a real life. You're almost 40. Alone on New Year's Eve. How tragic." That was the last straw. I set my glass down slowly and told them the truth about my marriage. The revelation sent shockwaves through the room. Leo was the first to recover and accused me of making it up. My mother was in disbelief, asking why I'd hide such a huge secret. My father just sat there, silent. I told them that every time I'd brought something precious into my life, they'd turned it into a problem. Then Leo got angry, saying I was just jealous of his success. I calmly replied that his proposal had crossed my desk and that his company's financials were a fraud. I took out my phone and read an email from Owen's legal team stating that the partnership was on hold until proper financial disclosures were made. Leo's face turned red with anger. He was furious, claiming I was ruining his life. But at that moment, Owen walked in. He had come because I hadn't answered his text, and we had planned to leave together before midnight. Owen, calm as ever, stood by my side. When Leo tried to dismiss him, Owen simply said, "My wife is also a family matter." That shut Leo up. Owen told Leo to explain the financial irregularities to the review committee with corrected documents. My father then asked if the situation could be fixed. Owen said it was possible if Leo provided accurate records, paid his debts, and corrected the false projections. My mother then turned to me, softly asking if I could help Leo clean up his mess. That was the moment I knew I had to draw a line. I stepped back and said no. I told them I would no longer be the one to clean up after Leo's mistakes. I was done being the family's scapegoat. My mother looked hurt, and my father looked disappointed. Leo was fuming. But as I picked up my coat and walked out of that house with Owen, I felt a sense of freedom. The following weeks were tough. Leo sent me angry emails, accusing me of sabotage. My parents called, first angry, then pleading for me to help Leo. I replied to one email only, telling them that I loved them, but I wouldn't participate in a family system where respect was conditional. 3 days later, my mother replied with "I'm sorry. I'm not sure yet if she truly means it, but for the first time, I'm not seeking validation." Months have passed since then. Owen and I hosted a small gathering at our home. Our close friends and family were there, and it was the complete opposite of my childhood dinners. There were no judgmental looks, no cruel jokes. At midnight, Owen kissed me in the kitchen, and I realized that true happiness means building a life where the opinions of cruel people no longer matter. I do regret the years I spent protecting my family from the real me, but I don't regret the day I finally stood up for myself. That New Year's Eve may have been the end of an old way of life, but it was also the beginning of a new, more authentic one for me.